This episode of Better Bad Ideas is brought to you by LaborFirst.
I'm Sean O'Brien, General President of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters.
Put your helmets on, buckle your chin straps. It's a full contact sport.
We're going to find out who has a better bad idea. All right, so today on Better Bad Ideas, we have our signature sponsor, and this podcast wouldn't be possible without your support financially. But more importantly, Keches Law Group. We have Sean Flaherty and Brian Sullivan, two of the partners of Keches Law Group, who fight fiercely on behalf of injured workers in America. So glad for you to be on the show and join us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's great.
Tell us a little bit about Keches Law Group and your start to where you are now, and what's the future look like. So, Sean Flaherty, you got a great story.
Yeah. I don't know if it's great, but I'll do my best. So I was born into a union family. My grandfather was a union iron worker. My dad was a union iron worker, Local 7. I then went and began working in Local 7. Probably the worst idea for me. I'm not so able.
That was a better bad idea.
Better bad idea. Yeah.
Better bad idea. Good.
I was unfortunately injured. I fell from a lift that I was in. I fell 27, 28 feet or thereabouts from a lift. I came down and crushed all the bones in my left foot. When I did that,
how old were you at this time?
I was 21 years old.
And no college?
No, I was just I was going to keep working.
Right out of high school, right in the iron workers.
Yeah, and it was you
must have fucked up along the way if you get put in the
multiple times. I still do.
I think you had 10 years of credible service at that time, too, Sean.
I still fuck up every day. And then George Keches, who founded the firm, he represented me at the time, and fortunately, at about the time the case was wrapping up, I said, I think I'm gonna go to college, go to law school, and come back and work for you. And he's like, okay, sure you are.
Meanwhile, he's like, how many painkillers you on right now?
And if you read his cover letter, you would have been surprised that he didn't
written in crayon.
An iron worker. We still have it.
I still have it. It's laughable. And so, and then, it started kind of sorting the mail in the place and then working as a law clerk.
Where'd you go to law school?
New England Law.
New England School of Law and Cosmetology? Or was that? No.
It's all the same application.
Yeah. I was going to paint nails and do other things. And anyway, and
wills and pedicures.
Wills. Yep. Trusts and pedicures.
Right, exactly.
And and started in 2004. And it's the only place
it's funny worked. Because I've obviously I've been working for the Teamsters for 35 years, and I think we were your biggest client, or especially representing
for sure,
industries
absolutely.
That we represent. But I remember Brian Flaherty, who we all near and dear. We love him
the best,
love him.
He's like, you guys are like old school. The movie Old School.
For sure.
He's like, Will Ferrell, like you're starting the fraternity, and he basically brought
it's not
you
beyond
guys
him
up.
to see him running down the streets of Marco Island naked either. From
Brian
Beach Boys
awesome.
concert.
So, I've been representing workers at the Teamsters since 1999, and
wow.
Keches Law and Brian Flaherty was my guy I used to refer everybody to. And then you guys come along, the young guns, and you started when, Brian?
Almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 20 years ago now.
Wow.
With Brian, as Brian sort of took me under his wing and is he's been a mentor since then.
What's your story? Like, how did you get into the workers' stuff?
I grew up in Quincy,
Yep.
went to Archbishop Williams, then I went to Suffolk for undergrad. While I was there, I ended up working for the Department of Industrial Accidents, which is, where the workers' comp claims are heard. I worked in the trust fund portion of that, came across a lot of people that did workers' comp. Seemed to be a great field to get into. So then I continued working there when I went to Suffolk Law School, graduated from Suffolk Law School, worked on the defense side for 2 years, saw how those guys fuck everyone over and figured I had to switch sides.
Yeah, so the defense side of the workers' comp is usually the employer.
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Yep.
Well, or the insurance company for
The insurance
for the
company is
employer.
fucking
Right.
worst.
Terrible.
The insurance companies are the root of all evil, honestly.
I, I was there for 2 years, but it took me about 2 minutes to figure out that isn't what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to get out because the way that they treat people that get hurt at work is horrible. And it continues to this day. 20 years later, it's still the same thing. Probably worse, to be honest. We see these claims that get denied, Sean, and it blows your mind. You'll have, somebody that will get hit by a car at work. This happened to me. Guy was in the back of a UPS package car, gets hit by another car. They deny the guy's claim.
Oh, I know. I mean, I've witnessed how despicable these insurance companies are and the employer at times. I mean, you think about the membership that we represent. UPS is probably one of the hardest jobs in the Teamsters Union.
For sure.
Especially right now, too.
As far as the productivity demands, the repetitive bending, lifting, and stooping, and navigating through, just the challenges of delivering packages per day.
I don't know how they do that. That to me is almost harder than anything else that they do. Like, I can't drive my sedan through the streets of Boston and park it. And these guys are balancing packages and parking in spots and
unrealistic productivity demands, which by the way,
completely unrealistic.
We do not. We're very successful at pushing back on all that stuff, but it's like anything else. What you allow someone to get away with, they're going to keep getting away with, and it's unfortunate. But
they push that envelope.
Which we push the envelope too. But the reality of it is, it's like our goal is for our members to work hard, make a lot of money, and go home healthy and be able to retire healthy. And unfortunately, that's not the case in most.
It's not, and people just think these packages just show up on their doorstep. They see Amazon that delivers these packages. Well, they can have 4 million trucks out there because they pay their people like shit. They don't have health insurance or union benefits, whatever it may be. If someone ever saw what the back of a UPS or DHL package car looks like on a regular day, and then they saw what it looks like on peak season, how the hell do you do that job?
Right.
And how do you do it under the time constraints that these managers and supervisors put on them? It's so unrealistic, and they wonder.
And by the way, working for people now, the UPS as I knew it 25 years ago when I first started representing them, all those people in management at one point in time were rank and file members. And they weren't rank and file members for 6 months. They were like 10, 12, 13 years waiting to get promoted into management positions.
Right.
So back then, when a manager or supervisor said, you should do this, you should do that, there was a little bit of respect there because that person telling you what you should be doing and not be doing did your job.
Right. Sure.
Today, you can't trick anybody to go into management at a UPS because of, there's no loyalty amongst thieves. And, just think if, I tell people all the time, because people complain, and I'm like, just think if UPS didn't have a union. Just think if UPS didn't have these resources. I mean, you look at Amazon, and you guys know the statistics probably better than any of us. There's a 150% turnover ratio, and they have, I think, the highest injury rate and most violations in OSHA.
And that's just the stuff that you know about. Because the shell games that are going on with that company and the carrier services that they're using and opening under different people's names. I mean, it's a bunch of bullshit.
Also, it's the independent fraud model,
right?
As far as the LLC's shell game.
Oh, that's right.
There's no liability to the Amazon of the world, but these third-party leasing arrangements and/or these 1099 employees, they have to do exactly what Amazon tells them to do. They have to dress like Amazon.
You're wearing an Amazon.
You have to buy You have to buy the truck off of Amazon.
If you look at this seminal case that distinguishes independent contractor for an employee, Amazon checks every box to make their drivers
no different than FedEx
drivers. Employees.
Because they work for Amazon.
Yep.
It's just like Uber. Right. I mean, they're telling them what to do, where to go, how to pick them up, what to charge. I mean, what's the independence there?
No, there's no independence. It's strictly a profit
for sure,
and that's it. I mean,
they're not paying benefits. They're undercutting the other services.
And let's talk about what they're. And again, we're getting a little bit off topic here, but you talk about ADHD, squirrel.
Yeah, I think we all have it.
Squirrel, mosquito, ice cream. But all these companies, it's all about technology. But like Amazon and Lyft, their end goal is to have autonomous vehicles.
Sure.
So it's like, all right, yeah, we want to, unionize Amazon. We want to unionize Uber. We want to unionize Lyft. You had a couple of unions that you truly can't get a contract. They're representing them. I think it's the machinist and SEIU somewhere. But it's like their end game is to have autonomous drivers. Like,
they have autonomous supermarkets right now.
Right.
When you go in there and there's no one in there. Like when I go into a supermarket, I refuse to use the self-checkout. I will
you
wait.
and I both.
I will wait for somebody to scan the packages for me or whatever I'm buying in the store. It's like, how do you not realize you're putting these people out of jobs?
That's a great segue, though, into what we need to talk about, because, this AI, phenom that's coming our way, and it's not coming 10 or 12 years from now, it's coming 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah. Right.
The AI, the efficiencies and technologies that everybody seems to be embracing because it's sexy and convenient, right? Like the self-checkout supermarkets. How is that going to affect, like, we know how it's going to affect, blue collar workers, the American worker, and we've got the ability to fight against that. But these industries that you represent workers, injured workers in, are you concerned about the future of your trade as
100%.
far as representing injured workers? Because if people had their way, and when I say people, there's a lot of prominent people in this country, politicians that truly want, autonomous vehicles. They truly want artificial intelligence to do work. They truly want robots doing certain things. Who are you going to represent? You're going to represent a fucking robot that short circuits?
That's
you would. I know
the
you
people that
would.
make the robots, I guess, right? But you're right. You're taking jobs away, and it's a real conversation you need to have, because I have a son right now who's 19 years old, who's a freshman in college, and tells me he wants to go to law school and come work with me and Sean. And I say, buddy, that's great that you want to do that. I don't know if there'll be a career path for you in 6 or 7 years because of what's going on in the world with all these jobs disappearing. So you ask, is it a concern? It's a real concern in live time.
I agree with both of what you've said, but I do think that, we're not to the point where, you need the iron workers. You need
what
the
someone said to me
laborers.
recently? AI can't swing a hammer, they can't wire a house, they can't unclog a toilet. Right? Yeah, so you're going to have a workforce, right? That's going to be a physical workforce that can't be replaced by robots. However, your clerks, your analysts, they can be replaced by AI.
Absolutely.
Doctors are being replaced by AI.
For sure.
Deliveries could be replaced by AI with
100%,
drones and
100%.
the autonomous vehicles and things like that. So yeah, it's a real concern,
Right.
for sure. And people want it until it takes away what they have, right? When it takes away the jobs that their daughters and sons could have, they're going to be kicking themselves in the ass.
Well,
for wanting AI so bad.
my son's a junior at Suffolk University. He was taking finance.
Where all the great people go, by the way.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Do you want to embrace your undergrad? Where'd you go? Where'd you go?
Quinnipiac.
Oh my good God!
But he did live in the North End.
Hey, did your
during law
employer
school.
pay for that? I hope.
Yeah,
because you got injured.
They should have. No, they didn't.
No. But my son's taking finance, or he was. He switched to sports management, and I'm like, all right, what are you going to do with that job? Someone goes to school for, communications. Someone goes to school for finance. They want to be an analyst, right? All those jobs are going to be done by AI at some point in time. So, I think what's scary for me is, to your point earlier, there's always going to be jobs that require a physical presence and can't be replaced by technology. But and it was recently explained to me by Alex Karp. I had a meeting with him, and he drew a pyramid. And again, we're at two opposite ends of the spectrum as far as where we come from and what we do. But we had a meeting. He asked for a meeting, and the guy's a fascinating guy. I mean, big, huge defense guy with all the AI and everything else. He drew a pyramid, and he put it in thirds, right? Top third is your C-suite. Those are your CEOs and everything else. And
sure.
The middle tranche is, your white collar workforce, analysts, accountants, lawyers, doctors, whatever. And then you have the blue collar, which is, I would assume trades and everything else. And he said, I can wipe that middle right out with technology. He's like, "I'll wipe that out." You know how much that's going to save corporations and companies? He says, and two things can either happen. Either we can take the savings and invest in the working people, which I would assume you would like, Sean. And I said, "Oh, I would love that."
Yeah, right.
And that's the way it should be.
Right.
He said, or these CEOs are going to have crazy amounts of compensation packages of these C-suite people. And, Wall Street is going to make the benefit of the technology. We have to find a way to work together to make sure that, American workers are getting the bulk of that savings as a result of it. So that's already, that's the thought process, that middle layer. And the funny thing is you don't represent any white collar crime syndicates known as corporate America. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But are you guys using AI at all right now to do research or anything when you're preparing a case?
Hell yeah. We'd be crazy not to.
Right. So in some arenas, when in industries, I look at it, and again, I know too much about it right now that I really don't want to know, but you have to know.
Right.
And we are all, and people say to us all the time, you want to be an impediment to technology. You want to be an impediment to progress. And I tell people all the time, we don't want to be an impediment to technology that's going to do a few things. One, technology is going to make it easier on our members and not be injured and maimed when they retire.
Sure.
Two, makes the job a lot more efficient and easier. And three, that there is opportunity to create new jobs as a result of this technology in the event that a job currently performed is affected and could be diminished. There's other opportunities in there.
Yeah. We're using it, but we're growing. We're still hiring. We're not using it and wiping out jobs. We're just using it to make our firm just better.
We're probably one of the few companies that is still investing more in our people than we are in AI and technology.
Yeah. Right.
We understand that the people that create our firm are what make our engine run, not
the people that
some
create your
technology.
firm are the people that I represent.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think we probably come at it from a bit of a different, certainly not the way that Alex Karp looks at things. Like, if we can give someone a job and it's a meaningful job and we can pay them good wages and give them health insurance, then that's what we're going to do.
Right.
Right. And sure, are we using AI? Yes.
This episode is brought to you by LaborFirst, the leader in healthcare navigation and advocacy for plan sponsors, union members, and retirees. Navigating healthcare isn't easy, especially when it comes to Medicare, and it shouldn't fall on our retirees' shoulders alone. That's where LaborFirst comes in. They work one-on-one with members to help them understand their benefits, resolve issues, and get the care they've earned. From answering tough questions to fixing billing problems, LaborFirst is in your corner every step of the way. No call centers, no runaround, just healthcare advocates who care. LaborFirst was founded by a proud Teamster son and grandson. For over 60 years, his father and grandfather led Teamsters Local 837, now Local 107, in Philadelphia with pride, purpose, and grit. That same union spirit runs through everything LaborFirst does today. Now, hundreds of union health plans trust LaborFirst as a true partner, delivering results, supporting members and retirees, and never forgetting who they're working for. When it comes to protecting what your members have earned, LaborFirst stands with you. Please visit LaborFirst.com to learn more. This episode is brought to you by Keches Law Group, proud advocates for injured workers and their families since 1986. If you've been hurt on the job, navigating the workers' comp system can feel like fighting an uphill battle. That's where Keches Law comes in. They've recovered over $3 billion for hardworking people just like you, and they don't back down when your rights are on the line. They know what it means to stand shoulder to shoulder with unions and workers across the country. Because at Keches Law, it's not just about compensation, it's about justice. To learn more, visit kecheslaw.com. That's KECHES law.com. And I've got to tell you, I've had the opportunity to work side by side with Keches Law Group for over 30 years. No one fights harder for injured workers in this country. No one gets the justice that injured workers and their families deserve. Please visit kecheslaw.com. That's KECHES law.com. What do you use AI for, though?
So it's great for, odd legal research, things that, you might have to go and really, really search and find
novel arguments.
Like arguments like, hey, you have a crazy case. It's great to have AI there to like, oh, it's this case. It finds it within seconds.
We'll have a case in another country. We have a case going in Belize. We had a case going in Aruba that we used it on. I believe we're using it.
But does AI de-skill your job? Because think about it. When you were brought up coming out of law school,
it was a whole
your whole success, attorney success, and believe me, it's an unqualified opinion, but attorneys' success was based upon preparation, research, and presentation.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
So is AI going to de-skill the job where, a law school student coming out now, who's probably utilized AI to get through law school, right? Are they gonna have the in-depth knowledge and or work ethic to do what you all did 20 years ago when you started?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's to me it's akin to kids going to school with their cell phones, right? And there's the argument of like, well, no phones allowed. Well, are we really preparing them for real life? Because everyone's got a phone in their hand every day. How about teaching people how to use their phone appropriately, right? How about a class in school? Like, hey, it's.
I don't want to check your browser right now. I'm horrified.
But like AI's here to stay. Let's figure out how to use it the right way and.
But again, I can push back on this, right?
Sure.
Because where'd you grow up?
Oh God, Foxborough mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you grew up in Quincy, right? Yeah. I grew up in Medford.
Yeah.
Right. We had no cell phones.
Right.
We had no social media.
Right.
We had no ability of our parents to track wherever we were, what we were doing.
Right.
Right. And I think we grew up
and had a lot more fun.
It was a different time.
Shit.
Oh,
we wouldn't be sitting in these positions if these chairs were available.
When you think about it, like, all right, we're gonna we should embrace and teach these kids, the phone, right? I knew how to get from point A to point B because I had an older brother or I had a friend in my neighborhood that took on a bike and everything else, right? You had to basically figure it out on your own. You had to figure everything out on your own. You had to figure out how you're going to get to Little League. You had to figure out how you were going to get to Pop-Warner practice, how you were going to get from point A to point B. And your mother wasn't texting you on the phone saying, get home, it's time for supper. You knew when the street lights were coming on, you were going home.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I mean, are we teaching the demise of society through this stuff?
Probably, but it's not. The unfortunate thing is it's not going away, right? Like you can keep your kids off of social media, but you can't keep everyone else's kids off, right?
But they're going to be ostracized because
everybody knows
they're going to fall behind,
right?
Everyone knows 6'7", and you don't know 6'7".
I know it's 6'7".
No, I don't know.
Our firm's a little different too with what we use AI for. We still require a lot of on your feet work. For whether making arguments, you're appearing in court. So it's going to impact us a little bit less than other firms that do different types of law.
Right.
Like the people we attract are people that are going to outwork the person sitting next to them.
Right.
And you have to be on your feet a lot. You have to be a people person. This is another thing that we're finding, Sean, with all this AI stuff. People don't know how to talk to other people.
No.
They do not know how to
I think a good example.
Socialize.
I think a good example of a consequence from COVID was the lack of interaction with people, the lack of conversation, especially between I would say the 14 to 22-year-olds, that tranche that when COVID hit, it's like you couldn't go to school, couldn't interact with your friends, couldn't play sports. So you basically isolated. They were isolated, and all they had was his phone. That was their communication or online. So I think that was a negative consequence.
Oh, definitely,
absolutely.
COVID. It's not normal.
No,
it's not normal not to have kids. So if you're 13 or 14, you should be around 13 and 14-year-olds having fun, getting in trouble.
I mean, the majority of people, I assume, the 13 and 14-year-old are watching the parents day drink during COVID because there was nothing else to do. So that's another consequence that I don't think anybody is taking into consideration. But tell us about the firm. I mean, the firm's been around since 1986.
86, yeah.
And what year were you born? You were born
75.
Like 75.
79.
Yeah, 79. So you were 6 years old, 7 years old when that firm started.
Yeah.
You
It
were
actually
10.
started out of Keches' car. You know, he worked at a firm that did a lot of workers' comp.
So when I first started working with the law firm, it was Keches and Mallon.
Yes.
Right.
Right. And we knew George Keches. I don't even think Mallon I don't even think I've ever met Mallon.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
My guy was always Brian Flaherty.
Yes.
And I would run into George Keches would be at like political events.
Sure.
He was more or less like the other modern day. I mean, Keches was the face of the firm. He would be at all the political functions, going out marketing limitedly. Right, it was all word of mouth.
It was different.
And you guys have assumed partnership of the firm. The only two partners.
We're the only two partners. Correct.
Right, from 1986, relatively young guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Feeling old.
Failing old, yeah. Failing old. That's a lifestyle you guys run. But you helped build this firm to where it is right now. And it wasn't always an easy road. So
No, it wasn't.
tell us about the firm. I mean, you get in there, you guys are young guns. You know what you want to do. You witnessed the DIA. You worked for the other side, knowing the other side is fucking awful. You practically, lived a nightmare that a lot of our members live when you get injured at work.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. You got a big settlement. We'll get that out of you at some point.
I forget, like 22.5 or 32,500. Either way, tons of money.
That's only with a broken leg?
Yeah, that's it.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I
Back
said
then, though, 21, 22, you
was
might want to break your own arm
Right,
for 22,000 back then, right?
I probably would have.
But you witnessed and you went through the nightmare and uncertainty of the system.
It's why I did it. So just a little caveat. I don't want to make this about me
You have
anymore
to
than it
make it
already
about
is.
you.
He's not
about
going
you.
to, so I'll fill in the blanks.
But here's what happened. This would never have happened. I wouldn't be sitting here right now. The insurance company, AIG, when I fell, I was in a wheelchair. I had multiple operations and so forth. And at one point, 3 months into it, they just stopped paying me. I was still in a wheelchair. I was still in a cast. And they said that they thought I had an earning capacity, that I could work. I couldn't go up and down the stairs. I was on Oxycontin.
No way.
Oh yeah, and couldn't sleep. Couldn't, swelling. If you saw my foot, I mean, just gross, like pressure sores, just big. I mean, really gross stuff. And I was nowhere near able to work or function or even pay attention. Yeah, earning capacity. Stop paying me. And if they had just continued to pay me, and I had just gone the normal course, progressively gotten better, and they stopped paying for my physical therapy. I was in a wheelchair. They took my wheelchair away.
It's terrible.
Now, when you got injured, did you lawyer up right away, or
I did.
You
I did.
So,
Yeah.
did the union tell you to lawyer up?
Yes.
What
right
year
away.
was that?
That was in 1999.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's one of the best things the unions can do for their members, Sean, is to tell them to contact us because it doesn't cost them a penny. And the insurance companies have an army of lawyers, right, that are thinking of ways to screw these injured employees or members rather. And, there's things they can do before a person goes and gets a lawyer that can really put the person in a bad position. So getting a lawyer in a workers' comp case, whether it's our firm or somebody else, is something everyone that's hard at work should do. It doesn't cost them a penny.
Yeah, it's funny
it's
too.
free.
And before it gets to the lawyer part of it, I always have advocated for our members to, even if you don't think you injured yourself, but you tweaked your back, or you bent your finger back, or whatever the case may be, fill out a report.
You have to.
Because if you don't, I've had numerous occasions where someone would like tweak their back on a Friday, and they go home over the weekend, a UPS driver or maybe a rigger, and that pain all of a sudden accelerates and the injury gets worse as time goes on.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden Monday you got to try and go into work and fill out an injury report.
Right.
Say, hey, this happened on Friday,
Yep.
and it's an injury, like a back or a shoulder. you can't see that injury.
Right.
Like,
That's right.
You fall down or you break your leg. There's that's consequence right away. But you get a rotator cuff or you get a back injury. It's not a visible injury.
Right.
So it's like, all right, this person's faking it.
And they think they're doing the right thing. I'm going to go home. I'm going to let it rest.
That's right.
Hopefully I'll get better. It doesn't get
Well,
better.
the coercion in the whole process is what used to fucking drive me insane.
Well, a lot of employers, and I'm sure some Teamsters, employers, they'll hide the injury reports. Oh no, that's that.
Well, they don't. That
we don't
goes
even
against the
have those.
statistic.
It's so bad with UPS
Yeah.
that this is probably 5 or 6 years ago. They would refuse to give their employees injury reports.
Right.
Somebody would get hurt. They'd go and ask for an injury report. They wouldn't give it to them.
To get the runaround.
So with Brian Flaherty and Steve South, and I think you were involved in it still back then, Sean, we had to create a Teamsters Local 25 injury report,
Right.
just to be able to give the members when they were hurt at work so they could fill something out.
Yeah,
That's how
it'd
bad
be a
it is.
cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
You get a person at UPS, whether you're part-timer or full-timer, you get injured. UPS is probably the worst I've ever seen at, trying to skirt the system, and it'd be cat and mouse.
Yeah.
You go to your supervisor.
For sure.
I can't give you the report. You got to go to your center manager. They go to center manager. Oh no,
He's on vacation.
the division manager needs it. Like it was like a circumventing the whole thing.
Oh, you
so
can do
we
that
did.
Monday.
We created a document right away where our stewards carry it around. Here's your injury report. Here's your witnesses, and here's everything else.
Right.
But the average worker, I mean, if you're not represented by a union, it's got to be a awful experience. It's awful when you're represented by a union because you're at the mercy of the insurance companies taking a position that, hey, you weren't injured at work based upon really fucking fake news, facts that aren't true.
Sure.
And, when you're injured at work, especially with a family, and I've been lucky. I've only been injured once at work, and I wasn't married, had no kids, and I broke my shin. And,
How'd you do it?
Oh.
I never knew. Learn something new every day.
Oh, want to hear this?
Yeah,
one?
what happened?
This is awesome. So I'm working on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're on double time. So I'm working at Shaughnessy and Ahern, and this guy Jerry Bennett, a good guy. I think he's still alive, but I didn't do so well. He had an assigned tractor.
Okay.
Right. And it was a special tractor because it had 3 axles and you had to haul heavy shit with it, like a heavy crane. So I'm working that Sunday and I'm the steward and I had to haul like a heavy load of crane parts or something. So I had to take his tractor. And this guy was meticulous about his tractor, like had these special fenders over the tandems or the triaxle. And he used to get bullshit because, when you're going to hoist things off a trailer, I would climb up the back of the tractor, step on the fenders and get on. And Bennett used to go crazy. Yeah. Don't step on my fenders. And I'd be like, shut the fuck up. This truck doesn't say Jerry Bennett truck.
Right.
It says Shaughnessy and Ahern.
Yeah.
So one Sunday, of course, it's a little misty out. And he did this to everybody. So he wasn't working. So, of course, I have his tractor. And I get out of the tractor to step up onto the trail, and I step on the fenders, and I'm bouncing like I'm a smart ass, right? I'm like, hey,
he's not even there.
If Jerry Bennett could see me now, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden I slip, and I grab onto the trailer, and my leg, the front of it hits the rail on the trailer, and I'm like, oh fuck, that hurt, But I'm working. I didn't even look at it. I'm working. I'm like, oh, that fucking hurt. But it was all because I was being a smart ass. So I ended up like, as the day went on, I'm like, oh, this fucking hurts. My fucking leg's killing me. And I roll my pants up and I got look like half a baseball on the thing. So I'm like, oh fuck. I think I'm hurting here. So I call in the dispatcher and I'm like, and I call the dispatcher, of course, Big Jack Shaughnessy calls me. What happened? And I couldn't tell him I was fucking around on the fender.
Yeah,
I'm like, I slipped and fell off getting on the trailer, which was true. But I didn't tell him the real intention was to mark.
I was trying to screw
Jerry,
it.
right? So I go to this, at the time you had to go to one of these, it wasn't a minute clinic, it was like an occupational health thing right down in South Boston. I went there on a Sunday. The guy takes a x-ray of my leg. He's like, oh, you're fine, it's just a contusion. All right, whatever. I go home that night. I can't feel my fucking toes and my leg's killing me, right? So I go to
The real hospital.
Yeah, Tufts Medical.
Yeah.
Right. So the guy goes, you got a broken shin, a cracked shin. I'm like, but I can still walk on it. He goes, yeah, it's just it's a fracture.
or
Yeah, it was a
whatever, yeah.
fracture, right? And I'm like, no shit. I said, they took an X-ray at Occupational Health. He goes, this guy was a young guy. He was fucking funny, right? He goes, do you remember in high school? I said, yeah. He goes, remember that kid that just sat at the back of the class and just did enough to graduate?
Yeah.
He goes, well, the same shit happens in medical school.
Yeah,
I'm like,
for sure.
no way, right?
Yeah.
Because you think doctors are off the
Right.
charts and whatever. But yeah, so I broke my
So
shin.
you deal with enough of them.
So I broke my shin, and then Big Jack made me come in and sit in the office with him, and I answered phones for like a week.
Yeah.
And he did it because he paid me, there was no light duty or whatever, but he paid me whatever I was working. But I think he did it just to torture me to get back to work.
Yeah.
Right.
I was
Get
like,
you in
oh,
there.
I feel better. I want to go back.
Yeah.
I want to go back into the
Yeah.
gangs, But that's the only time I ever got injured. I didn't have to call you guys.
But you're so right. Reporting the injuries is so important. The example I always give is Brian Flaherty had a case, UPS guy, and the guy cut his hand. Didn't think anything of it, but the guy was smart enough to report it, that he cut his hand delivering a package. The poor guy almost dies, develops a blood infection.
His name was Brendan. South Boston.
Maybe.
I know we can't violate HIPAA. I can.
Sure. So you know the story.
I know. I was the president of the team. So
And
I'm
the
president of the
poor
local
guy
league.
almost dies.
I didn't even know this one.
And it turned, so he goes to the hospital, he almost dies. They say the only place this could come, it was either Central America or South America.
Yeah, it was
I
somewhere.
forget
It was like a strep. Wasn't a strepcoccus, but it was like a flesh eating.
Yeah, it was
bullshit this
something
kid got. It
serious.
was bizarre.
Yeah.
How old was the guy?
Young.
It was like a piece of glass, right, or something.
I think he cut himself on a box.
Yeah.
And thankfully he reported it. And, because of Brian's being so close with the union at that time, they were able to go get this guy's delivery manifest and find out he delivered packages from the country where this thing emanated from.
Yeah, it was the strangest thing.
Thankfully, number one, the guy reported it, first of all.
Isn't that
And
crazy?
because the union's so involved with these comp claims and watching out for the guys, they helped us go track down the manifest, and Brian was able to connect all the dots.
Something coming from
Otherwise, we would
Guatemala,
have never
Peru.
been able to connect those dots.
The worst part about when you see people get injured at work, and we've obviously been doing it a long time, you see the progression of how ugly the process is.
Mm-hmm.
You've been at a company for 20, 25 years, giving it 120%.
Right.
Yep.
And in some cases, you may not, the person that gets injured may not have been the best union person in the world. Like when I say not the best union person, just went to work, didn't get involved in anything, did their job, never badmouthed the company, wasn't involved in the union.
Yep.
And, they basically were loyal to the company until you get injured because
Right.
you see how disloyal the employer is to you.
Happens
And
all the time.
I've seen it. And I tell you, like the one thing I used to say, you always look for a positive out of a negative situation. I would say, well, that person really wasn't involved in the union. They're injured. UPS injured them.
Yep.
They're going to see how disloyal this fucking employer, or any employer, not just UPS, is. And they're going to get a different taste in their mouth, and they're going to come around to our side, which that's what I used to say all the time. And 99.9% of the time, that's exactly what happens. You give 25 years or 20 years and you give hard fucking labor. You do everything you're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
And when your body finally breaks down because of all the repetitive lifting, bending, and stooping, you're a piece of shit. You're no good.
That's exactly
They're
right.
going to
All
throw
the
you
time.
away.
Exactly
And then
right.
you got a wife, you got kids, or
Yep.
you got a husband and you have kids. And now you gotta depend on 60% of what you are earning.
Right.
Right. And they're going to fuck with you. They're going to have the insurance company is going to shut you off.
Right.
You're going to have to litigate that. Meanwhile, you're not going to get paid. Well, thankfully, in our case, we always had the disability insurance that we could provide to them and
It's a
give
great
it back.
benefit.
But
great
it's
benefit.
still not a lot of money for these families, and
Yeah,
they
you
get
got
thrown.
kids,
They get thrown away.
And that runs for, as you know, Sean, 26 weeks. And unfortunately now it takes longer than that to see a judge.
Right.
Right. And so undoubtedly almost everyone that gets hurt at work is going to go without money, whether it's a month, 2 months, or 10 months, whatever it's going to be, they're going to go without money at some point.
And you can't prepare for it. It's not like,
Nope.
we talk about buying life insurance, long-term care, because, we don't know if our kids are going to be, up for the task of taking care of us. We're in nursing homes, so we're always looking at, all right, let's buy insurance. Let's take care of this.
But the problem is, by the way, those insurance companies suck just as bad.
Oh, they're awful. They're awful.
They're not gonna. I mean, I have a case right now where
this is one of the worst stories I've ever heard.
Young woman, beautiful mom of two. Dad goes to work one day. I'm not going to get too much into it, but dies at work. Has a life insurance policy. Has two. They pay the one for 50,000, 60,000, something like that. But fortunately, they had one for like much more, over $1 million. Right. And 2 kids. Probably still not enough, to be quite honest with you, in today's day and age, with the way things are.
So 8 years of tuition,
right? Tuition and college and all this kind of stuff. And the insurance company still. I mean, I have a message. I have to call the insurance company. He passed away 2-3 months ago. Still hasn't paid. We think it could have been suicide. You're in the contestability area.
Awful.
Unbelievable.
They issued the denial before the poor woman buried her husband.
She hadn't even been,
imagine.
Who the fuck are you?
What a vile
they're just
person you have
vile
to be to
people.
do that.
A dad that's like otherwise happy, healthy. Is
now the insurance company is going to determine the cause of death.
Right.
Oh yeah.
When he dies at work.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just crazy. These life insurance companies are just as bad in the long-term care company. I'm sure. Oh, well, we said we'd pay some of it. We didn't know it was going to be like really nice.
Right.
Well, when you were taking my premiums, you didn't mind.
Yeah. I mean, the system's awful and flawed, and I feel bad. I truly, when someone says, "Hey, I was injured at work," and it's funny. When we were younger, like I'd be working at Shaughnessy, and of course I'm healthy, I'm in good shape, physically fit, and whenever someone would be like, "Oh, my back's hurt," I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, yeah, okay. You never really think it's real until it actually happens to you.
So your back hurts.
Yeah.
And the other thing, he didn't get hurt. Okay, he might not have been hurt lifting a box that day, but the fucking guy's been lifting thousands of pounds of freight a day for the last 30 years.
Well, here's the other side of that. You make a great
Body's
point.
not going to break down?
It does break down. You make a great point. You know how many times we had to fight hernias? Right? Here's the best.
Yeah. Sure.
Here's the best. A UPS guy or a Stop and Shop warehouse guy, whatever. All they did was, repetitive bending, lifting, and stooping. Right? Their whole life. Right? So your body's broke down. They go home and they go home on a weekend and they're raking leaves and they get a pain in their stomach or wherever. And they go to the doctors, I got a hernia. Well, it didn't happen at work. Oh, no. It was caused because of work.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And, how many times have we had those cases where, we were like, in UPS and these big corporations, be like, hey, you didn't get hurt at work. Hernia, you're going to be healed in 3 months. Your union has a great short-term disability.
Or PFMLA.
Yeah, right? So it's like that. There's a whole scheme.
Oh, they manipulate it however they can.
They employ them better than anybody.
They all do. They all do it. That's what they're told to do.
And the PFMLA, where they get paid, it sounds like it's a great benefit for people hurt at work, right? Yeah. But the person gets hurt at work, the employer says, go to the PFMLA, you're going to get paid next week. Comp, you're not going to get paid for 6 months. So the guy goes, or woman goes and gets fixed, goes back to work, 10 years later, same injury comes up. Oh, that was 10 years ago. Yeah. That's not comp, that's a pre-existing injury. Then you got to fight it that way, right? So they know how to manipulate these insurance programs to their benefit. That's, of course. They make the employee think they're helping them, but really they're setting them up to just fuck them down the road.
Oh, there's no doubt. The other part of, getting hurt at work, which I don't think, a lot of people see this as much as we have seen it because we've been connected to it so long, as you see someone that's been at work for 20 years, model employee, gets injured, blows out a rotator cuff, right? Is out on comp for a year and comes back to work, and you see the employee or the member has changed.
Yep.
And they've changed for a couple of reasons. One, physically they're not the same person they were prior to being injured. And two, there's a substance abuse portion that runs concurrently with, workplace injuries, where you see someone that has been out, becomes dependent on painkillers, comes back to work, can't get the painkillers that were prescribed them once. So, every industry, or used to be every industry, had their resident drug dealer, resident bookie, and resident loan shark, right? So you have other people that were injured that are still getting their OxyContins or whatever, and now they're buying them, and then when they can't afford them, you know, they're not showing up for work. They're doing it. You see this. I've seen some ugly scenarios where great people who, no fault of their own, were injured at work and got prescribed painkillers, couldn't get off them.
Right.
And then it was just a spiral, a downward spiral, all as a result of initial workers'
for sure.
compensation.
Listen, we lived it. We lived it. That the OxyContin was real, and it was in me. I was. They were giving me OxyContin for months and months.
And then with the comp too, they'll just shut it off.
Yeah.
And so somebody's been taking it for 6 months, a year, multiple years, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden the comp insurer says we're not approving it anymore. So what does that person do? Exactly what you just said. So the insurance company shouldn't be able to just shut off a medication that they know is going to result in someone going into extreme withdrawal.
Right.
You know, there has to be some sort of safeguard
when it was
there.
prescribed,
Right.
you know, to help aid the recovery of the injury that was caused by the employer.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I can say, just, update, it's gotten better in general.
Well, because these doctors are now getting held accountable.
Exactly.
Where they're not overprescribing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's actually, like all things, it's swung the other way now.
But technology and rehabilitation is a lot more sophisticated, a lot more advanced, where, you're not dependent upon, a year's worth of painkillers to get through a shoulder injury or a knee injury.
Now they'll send people home with ACL, MCL repair. That's a pretty significant. That hurts. You're not walking well. You're in crutches with no painkillers at all. Nothing. Which is probably not some Tylenol. They that would have been 10 years ago. That would have been 6 months.
I mean, Massachusetts has great workers' comp laws, right? For the most part.
One of the better ones.
One of the better
for sure.
ones. And, we represent workers in 50 states, Canada, Guam, and Puerto Rico. And when you talk to business agents or other representatives from other parts of the country, their workers' comp laws are terrible.
Sure.
Like some places, my executive assistant she's an attorney, workers' comp attorney. She's awesome. And she was, I'll be telling her about different things in Massachusetts, victories and that you guys have all done. And she's like, oh no, the law doesn't support that in Pennsylvania. Or, so you guys are a nationwide law firm, Keches Law, right? You represent workers all over the country. You've done majority of work at UPS, so you know the animal better than anybody. Which I hope people that are watching this, say, hey, this is the people that I want to represent me.
And what you just said, not to cut you off, Sean, but what you just said about the people that were there for 30 years, 20 years, 30 years that never got hurt, a lot of those are current UPS employees that have never been hurt. They might be doing a feeder job or whatever it may be, and they're just going to work, putting their head down every day, and they don't know how evil the company that they're working for is, but they're going to find out at some point, right? So it's great to get that message out, but it can be somebody that's only been there a month that might need the message, or somebody that's been there for 30 years. They all need the same message.
We just recently, I went to a vigil in Northern California, local 315. A woman was a part-timer, been there for 1 year. She was in the unload, and one of the extenders, automatic extenders with the belts on it, you start out when you're loading the trailer, it feeds the trailer, and as you progress backwards or conversely when you're loading it, and malfunction of the belt crushed her to death in a trailer. A mother of five, single mother of five, and what do you think UPS does?
Denied her claim.
Denied her claim.
Yeah.
Yep.
Denied her claim. So she died in a trailer by herself, getting crushed. Of course, they'll blame her at some point for stepping in front of it. They'll blame the manufacturer of this. So, there's a lot of horror stories out there. But, those are states that may not have the best workers' comp. I would assume California's pretty
good. But I mean, there are states like Texas, Oklahoma, where it doesn't exist essentially.
Florida.
It's really not even on the books. It's as if you don't have any protection.
So let's talk about, you're a nationwide firm, represent workers all over the place. And if I'm watching TV or I'm watching major sports events, there's one name that pops up left and right, Morgan & Morgan.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, again, unqualified opinion, but I see that law firm and I'm like bottom feeder. But they have a presence in the United States all over the place. And from what I was told, not from your firm, but other people, is that their clientele is, I'm watching TV 2 or 3 in the morning because I don't work and I might be an alcoholic or a drug addict. And I slipped and fell in a grocery store.
Sure.
Better bad idea when you got a few in you. Call Morgan & Morgan.
Yeah.
Better bad idea.
It's crazy, Sean, but you're right to a point there. But also, we'll get calls from UPS guys that have been at UPS for 25, 30 years. And you'll ask them, why did you call Morgan & Morgan? Oh, my wife saw a commercial and she told me to call them. Why? And usually those people would end up in our office because Morgan & Morgan at that time, when they first came around, was just a referrer. So they wouldn't handle the case themselves. They would still end up in our office. But
you would pay Morgan & Morgan.
We would pay Morgan & Morgan, sure. And you asked a little bit.
Imagine watching TV and
no.
Tom Selleck, this reverse mortgage is great for you.
Right?
Next thing you know, one of our members is in.
I've seen that commercial. I don't even know it.
One of our members in a reverse mortgage getting everything taken away from him in 8 years. Never, note to self, better bad idea. Never hire attorneys on TV.
On TV. Yeah, get a recommendation from someone, right? And they came around a number of years ago, and I'm not only saying this because he's my partner, but thankfully Sean Flaherty was in charge of our firm at that time. George had built the firm on, word of mouth, union connections he may have had through the iron workers or whatever it may be. And Brian was obviously working with you guys, and it was more organic that way. And then when Morgan & Morgan came around, Sean sat us down and said, look, guys, we can try to compete with these guys or they're going to put us out of business. And it was a real fight. And, it's a testament to Sean because he was new to running our firm. And we had a lot of older partners at that time that were pushing back.
And plus, they didn't want to embrace the marketing
Correct.
Tool of it. Because, look, you got to invest in marketing, which you don't get a return on that investment right away.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Nope.
And, but it's like anything else. Like George Keches took the firm to a certain point.
Right.
That, no fault of his own. They don't embrace technology. They don't embrace, marketing. Everything was, hey, we've been successful because of our reputation.
That's right.
Well, I think we can understand now, especially the point in time we're in, your reputation is only going to take you so far. It's what do I see? You guys are very prominent in a lot of areas like pro sports, Patriots, the Bruins, the Red Sox.
Yep.
So, our members go to those games.
Sure.
Our members see that stuff. And, it's just to a point where you've taken the business from a point where it was completely successful. And the discipline was, we don't advertise, we go by our reputation, and we're strictly a referral business. Well, your biggest threat is out there, saying they've settled,
a marketing machine,
$1 billion, and you see them everywhere. So how do you compete with the Morgan & Morgans of the world?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, Sean. We try to just do our job every day. And if we do, people always ask us about competition and this and that. And I always just really say, if we do our job, it's us versus us. We probably, because I'm too stupid to think otherwise, we think we're great.
You should think you're great.
Yeah,
we do a better job handling the cases.
We think we're the best. Right.
And we hope that if we do a good job handling the case, the next case is going to come back. So we really can't worry about Morgan & Morgan, but it's always in the back of our heads. But we can't worry about it all day, or else that's all we'd be worrying about because they're never going away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they keep popping up. And thankfully, we have a great marketing team at our office, John Uniac and Tim Blacker. They do an amazing job of identifying areas where we should target and things that we should, really go after to try to combat Morgan & Morgan the best we can. And I think that our lawyers are better lawyers. We're Massachusetts lawyers. We've been practicing in Massachusetts only. They have lawyers that are handling cases now themselves. They're not just referring in Massachusetts anymore. But in my opinion, I'm sure Sean shares the same opinion, we have better lawyers that do a better job. So yes, they may be the shiny new toy with the commercials and everything, but when it comes down to it, you still have to do the job at the end of the day. And I think we have better people to do that job.
Now, would you, if you had to like do a deep dive, Keches versus average firm? I mean, you've been doing it so long, and you know, I think you're respected through the system. I know you are. You know, whether you go in front of a judge to litigate a case or wherever you may be, would you say your firm is more equipped to litigate versus settlement, or is it a mixed bag?
No, I mean, we take real pride in litigating. I'd say we have more lawyers litigating and in courts in Massachusetts than probably anybody in our space, because we have close to 70 lawyers now, and including me and Brian, and I'm in court likely every day. He is too. So we're still like actively pushing and actively, you know, doing conferences and hearings and getting UPS drivers on workers' comp and trying to, you know, continue to help the people that kind of that are what we do, our whole lifeblood.
Now, isn't it amazing though? You know, you've litigated so many cases.
Yeah.
I mean, you've settled $3 billion in injured workers claims since the inception of the firm, which is probably going to increase drastically, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you think you've seen it all. You think you've been there, and there is, you know, case studies on some of the victories that you've had, and yet an employer who may have been a victim of your success and that same insurance company will take on that same issue that was already tried and litigated.
Oh yeah.
It's like, doesn't that amaze you?
Yes.
And you're like, listen, we already did this. We've already been down this road. Like, why the fuck are you going down? Just settle up, reward the person that's sacrificed their body for your success. Why fuck around with this?
So this is just an opinion, obviously. They want to make it as hard on the injured workers as possible so that they may know they're going to lose, but they want to put that poor person that just got hurt through hell, so that when they're talking to a coworker or a friend and they ask them about their
marketing tool.
Exactly.
That's their marketing practice.
Be as vicious as possible and underhanded as possible, and you'll maybe someone will file a claim.
You'll deter the next person from going down this road.
Yep. Absolutely. That's definitely it.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of it, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you know, as far as growing goes in litigating cases, we have, you know, some of the best trial lawyers in our firm, you know, that have gotten tremendous results for our clients. And as a result of that, I don't even know if you know this yet, but we just merged with another personal injury firm. They don't do comp; they just handle personal injury cases. Aside from comp, that probably the guy that founded that firm is one of the, if not the most well-respected PI lawyer in the state. A guy by the name of Leo Boyle brings tremendous success and firm reputation into our firm. So we're, you know, growing as much as we can, but with the right people.
That's another off ramp, so to speak, of what a service you offer that you never had before.
Yeah. Right.
So again, we'll get back to earlier conversation. Will AI and technology and the, you know, decrease in some of these workplace injuries because of technology, is that the direction that this firm needs to go in? Because there's always going to be someone getting injured for some sort of reason, maybe not just workers' comp.
Yeah. We're certainly, you know, we're helping members get on Social Security now for their retirement purposes, more than we ever have. We're helping people with Camp Lejeune, Marines.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
That's another law firm that, you know, I don't know what law firm it is, but you see consistent advertisement. If you were at Camp Lejeune from 1983 to whatever date it is, you may have been exposed to, what is it?
It's carcinogens. The water was unfortunately filled with cancer-causing agents.
Right.
And it's a real thing, and we're actively representing people. I think it's Keller Postman that is doing the national. They have about 75,000 people that qualify from that one firm.
And we were talking to,
and that's not an ambulance chasing firm.
No,
that's not
represents
someone that actively gets up in the morning to walk through a store hoping there's a spill and they'll just fall.
Yeah, no, these are guys that were, clerks for the U.S. Supreme Court, Harvard Law graduate. I mean, this is a top law
Reputable
firm that's
firm.
handling these cases because it's so important. We were on the phone with Warren Postman, who's Postman and Keller Postman this morning, talking about Camp Lejeune, and he was telling us about
Camp Lejeune is a Marine Corps training facility.
Exactly.
Yes,
A base.
So you go through basic training in Paris Island or in the West Coast, and then your next stop may be Camp Lejeune.
Yes,
for
correct.
further training.
Correct. And Marines have spent, 1 year there, 6 months there, 5 years, 10 years there. Their families as well, living on base. It's obviously affected, approximately 400,000 people.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So you
terrible.
actually have to sue the federal government.
And it's even worse than that, Sean. So out of those 400,000, I believe you said 2,000 have been processed.
Yeah.
So the federal government created this Camp Lejeune Act, and they did all the photographs and press releases. We just came up with this new law that we're going to compensate these Marines that were exposed over a number of years from all the chemicals that were in the water. So when you're brushing your teeth, when you're washing your clothes, when you're going to the dry cleaner, I mean, they were getting it every day. And it was a great thing when they created the act. But now what they're doing is the Biden-Harris former regime appointed a bunch of lawyers that were career prosecutors or litigators, and they're fighting them. So they have basically said no one's entitled to it. And they're fighting them like crazy, and they're doing everything they can to not pay these claims. So rather than taking care of the Marines that
Who
were
served our country,
Yeah.
give us
Well,
the freedoms we
thank you.
deserve,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have high-powered lawyers.
Yeah.
It's funny. No one talks about this.
right,
It's crazy.
No one's talking about this at all because you talk about an issue that I volunteer. I have the courage to volunteer to go serve my country. I'm getting trained up before I might get deployed, wherever it may be. And I am indirectly causing myself or my family health issues.
right,
No fault of my own because of shitty fucking water.
Right.
yep,
And the government, who I agreed and entered into a contract to serve, is not going to fucking make my family whole.
they're going to fight me on it.
And we rectified the wrong as our congressmen, our senators. They said this was wrong. We're going to fix it. We're going to give the money, and now it's years late, 2 years later, 3 years later, what have you, and it's still no one's gotten anything.
They got the photo ops and press releases, but they've done nothing to compensate these families who are dying every day. So these people that have been suffering for years.
they're going to wait them out and they'll die off and don't have to pay?
and they're dying every day, unfortunately, every week, every 2 weeks.
So what is your role in this? Are you representing any of the
We're
folks?
representing these families. Yeah, we have
Nationwide?
nationwide throughout
Nationwide,
the country.
and there's other firms that are involved. Obviously, Keller Postman's the big one. I mean,
I mean,
great
how many
guys,
people?
great
400,000 people are affected
Yeah.
right now? So you have to have, you have one major law firm and then you guys are all.
Yeah, I mean, those are being handled right now by our office in Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia, in Bluebell, by a former U.S. Marine himself who felt passionate about this project because he was a Marine, and he was like, "This
is going to be another podcast.
This
Sure.
whole
I mean, think about this, right? You have legislatures that were served in the Marine Corps,
right,
on both the Congress and the
Get
Senate.
you some stats.
Right, you have Jake Auchincloss,
Right.
Congressman. You have Seth Moulton,
Yep.
Marine, Congressman. You've got Sullivan, who was a Marine out of Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Vice President of the United States that was a Marine.
right.
So it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
And Warren sent us some stats this morning, Sean, that this was passed in 2022.
Right.
The Biden-Harris DOJ did everything they could to fight these claims to where none of them were being processed. And he said that, since President Trump took over, the same lawyers have remained in charge. So they're still going the same direction. And that as a result, only 2,000 of 400,000 have been processed and paid.
And what are
Imagine
they? I mean, I would assume it's all cancer, right?
Yeah. Well,
No,
Parkinson's,
Parkinson's.
cancer. There's a number of conditions that have affected people. And it's just sad. Instead of trying to get together and figure it out, it's putting your foot in the ground. This issue's already been decided.
Let's
These
do
people-
what the
these
act
people
was
are-
created for.
They identified what caused the problem.
We
right?
know that
They know what happened.
We know
and they
there
just
was a
don't want to pay
problem.
them.
We know that that it happened on your watch. It's been decided. It's a moot issue. Pay the people.
What are they pushing back on when you sign up for the service? You basically indemnify that branch, right? If you're killed or injured in the line of duty.
I think that that's a part of it. But what they're really, from what I understand, and my knowledge of it isn't as great as Warren's is, and Tim's from my office and so forth that are handling every day. But they're fighting back as to like, which sink did it come from? Which
Crazy
pipe?
stuff.
Well, you can't really prove that it was from,
You were going to get it anyways.
All right, so 400,000 people are fucking sick and have died and
Right.
whatever else. All went to the same place.
Right.
All went to the same. I would assume it's the same water source.
It is.
Right. That's
causing
correct.
it. So
Right.
what matter does it?
Think
What
about how
does it mean?
crazy this is.
What
Our
does it mean?
government created legislation to pay these people. They came up with an act called the Camp Lejeune Act
What
to
was the
pay
number
them.
though? Was there a number associated with a financial number when they created the act, or a cost? It had to be a cost.
There has to
associated with
be.
it.
I just don't know what it is. off
There
the top of
was.
my head.
It was billions of dollars to take care of these families. And what's someone's life worth? If it could be proven that you gave this guy kidney cancer, or you gave the daughter of this Marine bladder cancer. I mean, there are some cancers that are just unequivocally related to the time at the.
I'm just
at the base.
surprised it's not more mainstream where
Right.
people. I mean, 400,000 people. That's a lot of people in a short time frame. What, like 1983 to when?
Yeah, it wasn't long.
And they're the best, and they're the people that gave their bodies and their lives to the
Right.
United. Those are the people we should be taking care of the most. But I think the same thing happens with the VA and the treatment that people
Well,
get.
you don't think $20 million to Saudi Arabia to recreate Sesame Street was worth it?
I think it was the 15 million or whatever it was for the LGBT Haitian parade.
Oh,
Parade
Jesus.
in Haiti or whatever
There
it was.
was a million things over.
when you see the
all
money,
over-
Sean, that
all,
goes
all over the United States. I mean, think
Yeah.
about 40 billion here,
Mhm.
right, to Ukraine,
or
right?
autonomous vehicles in Uganda.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the stuff
and you're
it's crazy.
Seeing, you're seeing families that, no fault of their own, volunteered, agreed to fight and defend this country, and we're not paying them for.
And the money set aside for it already.
Yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make
really
any
doesn't.
sense.
So to say it's another podcast,
That's something
I
we
agree.
should. We
That
should
would be a
actually.
great thing.
You know what we should do is we should do another podcast and bring like
Warren Postman.
a Seth Moulton, Warren Postman,
Mm-hmm.
or someone. Get a Marine in there. Like
Yeah.
I have two Marines that work for me
Absolutely.
that were in Camp
Well, we
Lejeune.
get a good amount of our referrals from a local 25 Marine, Richie Brennan, who's
yeah, yeah.
very involved in the veterans affairs. and
Longshoreman,
things.
by the way,
Oh,
my buddy Richie.
Longshoreman. Doesn't he? I thought he worked here as well. No.
He works
trade
in
shows?
Longshore. He might work the trade show,
okay.
too, mate.
But Richie is very active in it.
Yeah.
And, he was really hitting the ground hard trying to help these people. He's trying to help as many people as he can. And, they need the help. And they
Well,
deserve it.
the shutdown mustn't have helped either, right?
No.
I mean, that had to set it back a little bit.
It did, but I mean, that's like
It's just
weeks.
another excuse, right?
That's weeks. I mean, this has been since they haven't been able to get anything
So
done.
not only are you representing our members that work every single day, whether it's in various industries, then you're representing, military families, 400,000 who had catastrophic illnesses as a result of bad water.
Right.
Let's talk about pro athletes. You represent any pro athletes?
We all the time are representing pro athletes. They're injured just as much as the next of us. Because
You
listen,
represent New England Patriots.
You just can't do it while they're under contract. So you have to wait for them to let their contract expire,
Yep.
and then you can file a claim for a professional athlete. So when we used to go to court in person every day,
Yeah.
you would see all of the retired athletes up there. And
So in other words, I have a 5-year deal
Yep.
with the New England Patriots.
Yep.
I play my 5 years, and my body is beat to shit as a result of being an employee of the New England Patriots.
sure.
Once my contract's over, I can file a workers' comp claim.
Yes.
You can.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean, no statute of limitations or anything else like that.
There is a statute of limitations, and
It must be different state by state, right?
They're tricky cases because sometimes it's not as clear. It's a repetitive injury. So the bulk of someone's playing career happened while they were in New England, but then their last stop was
Finished up in
Miami,
Carolina or
you
whatever it
finished
may
up in
be.
Carolina. And when did that happen? Where was the cause?
So you want to identify who has the best workers' comp laws, right?
Yes.
Especially when you're a free agent.
Come here. Come to Boston when
Right?
you're a free agent.
When you're a free agent. Yeah, but you know what the problem is? They don't want to come here because of the tax.
Taxes.
Yeah, so,
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be fascinating dealing with sports injuries as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and they.
How personal does it get between the owners and the and the system, or is it the insurance companies at this time?
It's the insurance companies, but I'll tell you, the owners are involved. I represented a pro baseball pitcher, and the consent had to be signed by the very top brass of like when it settled, and it was clear. Hurt during the World Series, shoulder injury, super clear, but. It's something that I you do realize this, even when with businesses, even when the companies are big, they oftentimes the CEOs, the COOs, they still know when they're being.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's crazy. But they know, and who's suing them, and it could be
who their
pennies.
attorneys are.
And you would think a city or a town wouldn't be as involved as they are, but for example, the city of Medford. They fight everything.
Oh, they're awful.
They treat their people terrible. Right. And, I'm representing a guy that's in his 70s, and he was there for like 30, 40 years, and he's been out of work for a year, and she terminated him. And this job was this poor guy's life.
But who's advising these people? The insurance companies?
I don't know who's advising her. She seems to
No, but I'm just saying in general. Like,
thing.
In general, like,
non-advice.
An injured worker, fire him, throw him away. Like, what callous motherfucker
Oh,
is
happens.
making those
Happens
decisions?
every day.
Yeah.
Happens every day in America.
Yeah.
Happens every day.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
And, you guys did a great job negotiating most of your contracts where your members get 12 months of health and welfare, at least 12 months of health and welfare and pension.
Yeah,
no one else gets that.
No, we make sure that, we were ahead of that a long time ago.
It's huge.
Because what we talked about earlier was, the one thing is our members earn their benefits by the time they're at work.
Sure.
Right.
And if they're not at work, they're not earning their benefits.
Right.
So it's like, all right, you're hopeful that someone's going to recover from an injury within a 12-month period.
Right.
That's what you
Right?
want, of
Hopeful.
course.
It's not realistic in some cases. So, we've always done a good job of making sure our contracts mandate employers pay a year's worth of contributions for health and welfare and pension while these people are injured. Because look, one thing, I got to believe this, and I've seen it, and some people have told me this, when you're injured at work, like you are the provider of the family, right? So you can't work, you can't do certain things physically that you used to be able to do. You're feeling really shitty about yourself, and you're feeling really shitty because you got to worry about how you're going to pay your bills. You got to worry about some fucking asshole with a camera watching you pick up your 2-year-old kid who might have fallen down and then strip you of everything you have coming to you. You feel less of a person. The last thing we want to do is have you worry about your health insurance and your pension.
That is very real.
It's huge.
That is very real.
And you would hope that someone would be back to work, or most people would be back to work in that 12-month period, but because it takes so long to get to a judge, they might not get medical treatment for 7 or 8 months.
Right.
What is the
worst?
behind.
What is the worst workers' comp case you've ever witnessed, in the worst behavior of an employer during that time?
Jeez,
That's tough because it happens every day.
Yeah.
I think one of the most egregious ones was, the injuries weren't that bad, thankfully, but it's the guy in the back of his package car. Stopped on the side of the road looking for a package. He gets hit and they deny that claim.
Right.
How do you deny that claim? He's in the back of his truck and is hit by another car. Or Brian had a case where a woman breaks her arm at work and they denied it, saying it was a pre-existing injury.
Broken arm.
Broken arm. How? How you say that's a pre-existing injury? She broke her fucking arm. But they do it. They're supposed to investigate these claims before they deny them, Sean, and give actual reasons. They don't.
I think one of the worst ones that I not witnessed, but it was involved in, and you guys, I think, represented the family, was the part-timer UPS that had died working. And it was, they were working and they wouldn't let him take a break.
Yep.
And I think he was a diabetic, and he had a diabetic seizure, and he died right on the outside of the truck on the catwalk.
Yep.
And the supervisor didn't call anybody for like 7 or 8 minutes.
Well,
Guy laid there. Do you remember that?
I do, and I almost had the exact same situation happen last summer. It was a really hot day. Guys making deliveries, and they're under constant pressure to deliver these packages as quickly as they can. He calls and says, "I'm not feeling right. I need help. Send an ambulance." These fucking people don't send an ambulance. They send another employee out there to finish his route and leave him on the stairs. He goes into AFib and almost dies. So, let's not call help to get the guy help. Let's just make sure the packages get delivered, right? So that was a bad one. And then I think the saddest case I had happened down at Stop and Shop in Freetown, where it was just a perfect storm of misfortune, really. Poor guy's yard man moving the trucks around, rainy night, dark, and he thinks he sees the light is green. So he goes to pull the trailer out from the bay, and unfortunately there was a coworker in the back of the trailer. He didn't know. The guy falls out of the back of the trailer, the forklift falls on him and kills him, and that's obviously very unfortunate. And then the guy that was driving the trailer has not been right since, on an emotional standpoint.
Oh no!
So that is probably one of the saddest ones that I've had. Obviously, people die. It's awful. But that was just an unfortunate set of circumstances that just unfortunately happened all at the same time. And 2 lives were really lost in that incident. So that was a really sad one for me.
What about you?
One that's coming to my mind is one that I just have been working on in the last 3 weeks, but great guy, 66-year-old guy, was going to be, hopefully retiring relatively soon, was on top of a 8-foot, essentially cinder block. They were coming up on a load with the crane, and his hand got stuck inside the winches that pulled up the load. So stuck between 15,000 pounds on his hand, and it took his thumb off. And when it took his thumb off, he fell off the 8-foot platform that he was on, and cracked his neck and died right on the job site and in front of everybody at work, and they denied the claim.
Imagine that.
They said that they thought he had a heart attack.
They didn't take into consideration his thumb
No,
got ripped
his
off
thumb
and
got
he
ripped.
got
Why
launched
would you?
off of that.
Yeah.
That's-
It doesn't matter,
that's
right?
nice.
Yeah.
How do you look? How do you fucking look people?
I don't know
in the
how they
face
do it.
after that.
I
And,
don't know.
That was the Hartford Insurance Company, one of the largest insurance companies.
Who's the worst insurance company to deal with?
Oh,
Liberty
God.
Mutual. Liberty Mutual is brutal, right?
They're not the worst.
Geez, that's like asking me.
You know what? I think a lot of it comes down to the lawyers that are representing the insurance company, because, we fight with Liberty Mutual every day. Brian Flaherty and I fight with Liberty Mutual / UPS. They're one of the same every day. The lawyer that primarily represents UPS is a good guy. I have no problem saying that. He's a good guy. He does his job, and he tries to, he tries to handle his cases.
Don't you want to go on Sunday are you
Yes.
fucking stupid?
Yes, I do.
We've already done this dance before.
And we scream and yell at each other, Sean, all day, but he handles cases the right way, if you will, from the insurance. He's not going to fabricate evidence. He's not going to lie. He does his job the best that he can. Then you might get somebody that is full of shit from the time they open their mouth, right? And it's just going to lie and lie and lie and lie. So I think a lot of it depends on the attorney or attorneys that are representing the individual insurance company
Right.
too,
Yeah.
and what they can pull off.
Yeah, it's a disgrace. I don't know how people would look at that.
I don't either.
Legitimately have someone injured or disfigured or dismembered.
Or gone.
And do that job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
I'm talking to his widow and showing me pictures of him in the pool the Sunday before. It was 2 days later.
Yeah, there's
Gone.
a guy.
He's
There's a
gone.
guy that gets up work on a Monday.
Yeah.
Gonna have a great day. Come
Yeah.
home, see his wife
Yep.
and kids, and
Yeah.
he's never coming home.
Or you know what's another bad one? The burns. The burn injuries are really bad, and those poor people suffer tremendously, as we all know. The crazy thing about it is they're limited in what they can get. In Massachusetts, Sean,
Scarring, right?
$15,000. It's been the same figure since 1991. You can only get it on your hands, face, and neck. So you can be someone that's burned over 90% of your body, and the most you're going to get is $15,000.
So why are we not like legislating that stuff? Why are we not?
Try all
why,
the time.
why are we not holding these politicians accountable? I mean, I would assume burns. You'd have the firefighters union carrying that.
They're
no
under
pun
a different
intended, carrying that
statute.
torch all day. Are they under a different
Yes,
statute?
police and fire fall under a different
they fall
statute.
under
We have a state rep that's one of the lawyers in our office who's actually promoting a bill right now to increase
Who's
these.
that, Ferreira?
Chris Hendricks.
Oh, what's Ferreira do? That guy's a cartoon character.
He's a man.
He's a governor's
He's on
counselor.
the governor's
Yeah,
council.
good guy.
Yeah, great
Good
guy. And, he's one of the people that approves the judges and clerks and things like that. But Chris Hendricks is one of our lawyers who's a state
I know
rep.
Chris, yeah.
Yeah, down in New Bedford.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get it increased right now, and the folks over at Local 25 actually went up and spoke in favor of the bills. This was probably, 6 months ago or
Probably
so.
the most humbling experience, one of the most humbling, I've had a few in my life, but one of the most humbling experience was I played in the Shriners All-Star game, football, 44 of the top players. And
Yeah.
of course I go 44 of the top players. But part of part of the process was we had to go to the Shriners Burn Center to, meet some burn victims and everything else. And I gotta tell you, when you see a 2 or 3 year old kid whose mother took
Awful.
hot cup of water and poured it over their heads and they're dismembered, I mean, it's the most humbling
Sure.
and troubling thing that you think of at that age, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And you're like, you get the world by the balls, you're playing the biggest game of your life and you're having a blast. And then, you got to see the people that are burn victims, and it's like $15,000.
That's it.
Burn.
Oh, it's awful.
And not, it's awful seeing them, but the smell. When you when you walk into the burn unit, just the smell, it doesn't leave you. It's awful.
Right.
But yeah, you're limited to, and it's only on your hands, face, and neck.
Right.
So people were getting that, 35 years ago.
Yeah, in 1991.
The dollar's a little different now.
It's different.
Yeah,
So hopefully
a lot
it gets
different.
changed. It should be changed. It should have been changed a long time ago. And hopefully Chris is successful on that.
All right,
They
so
deserve
listen,
it.
let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
The one thing that's important, and workers that are listening to this, because I believe that's the majority of our audience, what's the best advice in a minute each you could give someone that's working physically every single day and they get injured at work? What's the best advice you can give them?
I'm going to start with this, that if you have been working and you've been busting your ass and you've worked your whole life, or 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you don't have a distinct incident that occurred where you fell from a lift or got backed over by a car or forklift, but your body is just broken down because of the years of physical hard labor that you've been doing to help your employer and to feed your family, that is just as much an injury as it would be if you were backed over by a car or fell off a lift while you're at work. So don't feel that your back that's just sore is not related to the hard physical work that you did while you're working for either UPS or as a landscaper or whatever it is.
Ironworker,
Or ironwork,
carpenter.
whatever it is, that is compensable. Please call a lawyer. Call us.
Yeah, and just to finish on that topic is, people will, like we were talking earlier, injure themselves on Friday, hope it goes away over the weekend, and then they'll go to the hospital that Monday morning because they can't get out of bed. And they'll say, woke up in a lot of pain today, couldn't get out of bed. Well, that's what gets written into that office note. Not that I hurt my back last Friday or this is what I've been doing for the last 30 years. So it's really important that they report it the right way when they go to the doctor. Not just filing it with the employer, but when you go to the doctor, don't just say I woke up in pain.
No, say I
That's what
injured
happened.
myself Friday. I mean,
Right.
I've seen it, and you've seen it as well. You get injured on a Friday, and or you get injured on any day, and your supervisor, or your manager will say, "Yeah, why don't you just go home and rest up a little bit?
Yeah.
You'll be okay." And you think the guy's being a good guy. Hey, he's giving me a break here.
Right.
We'll put you in for a sick day.
Mhm.
You're actually creating a massive problem
Hurting
for
yourself.
yourself right there.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, you're definitely hurting yourself. And the thing I would leave people with is your employer isn't going to help you when you get hurt at work. You got to worry about yourself. So those days that you're going into work and you're in pain and you can barely get out of bed, but you're going to work because you think that's the right thing to do because that's the work ethic that a lot of these members have. They work through pain. They've been working through pain for 30, 40 years, right? Just know at the end of the day, your employer is going to fuck you the second you get hurt at work. You may have been model employee, employee of the year, teacher's pet. And, you know, it's important. You know, the teacher's pet is the one that's really going to get screwed at the end of the day because they're going to believe the bullshit the employer is telling them.
Right.
You know, so watch out for yourself and your family and stop worrying about your employer who's going to screw you the second.
So where can the audience find and do research on Keches Law?
Just KechesLaw.com. Find us.
KECHES Law.
You got it.
.com.
That's right.
Nice and
That's
easy.
right. And yeah, we
All
look
right,
forward to helping you.
Before we wrap up,
Yeah.
you know, I always have this thing where I ask the guest, if you could have lunch with someone who's still alive, not deceased, who would that be?
Oh, goodness. I don't even know.
Brian Charles Flaherty.
I know who he would pick. It would definitely be a Beach Boy.
I don't know who I would pick, but I'm super into Zach Brown. So I think maybe Zach Brown. It'd be cool to have him bring his guitar.
Well,
Play-
you can see
play a
how
little bit.
you can see how he treats his crew. See if any of them get injured at work and what they do,
Yeah.
how he treats them.
Yeah, I mean, I know I can't say Megyn Kelly because someone already took that as an
Oh,
answer.
she took that though.
Yeah.
She stole that.
And-
Oh, did you know like this is the Better Bad Ideas by Christine Lynch featuring Sean O'Brien?
I did know that, and I'm waiting for it to change. Now, this isn't political at all. This is sort of to go against all the political craziness that goes on in the world today. I think I would say Donald Trump, and it has nothing to do with politics. To be able to sit in a room with the guy who runs our country and is the leader of the free world, I think would be an amazing
Yeah, so what you're
experience.
saying
It has nothing
is,
to do with politics.
so what you're saying is, if Obama was a president now, you'd want to sit down with Obama.
Exactly.
If Joe Biden was a president, you want to sit down with Joe Biden.
Right.
If Donald Trump was the president, you want to sit down with them.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Doesn't it suck? I've done that.
Yeah. Not to throw it out there, right, Sean?
Yeah.
But
Well, listen.
it's amazing that that you have been able to do that stuff, right? And it has nothing to do with politics. You're trying to meet with the people that are going
Trying to
to
represent
do the
your
right
people.
thing.
You're trying to represent your people.
Yeah.
That give you the opportunity to privilege to serve
I
them.
mean, imagine if you said 30 years ago that if you gave someone the opportunity to sit down with the president of the United States, they would say no,
Right.
solely on politics. They would just say no.
Right.
That's where we are, and it's crazy.
That's crazy. The world's crazy politically, but that's a podcast for another day.
Yeah.
Listen, I
Thank
want
you
to
for
thank you
having us.
guys coming on here, and I really, truly
you.
appreciate all the hard work and support that you've given our members and working people. And I know continuing that's never going to change. And, it's what you do is very noble, and we appreciate it.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
And we appreciate you guys.
All your
And,
hard work.
It's one thing that Brian Clardy has always instilled in me from the day I got here is loyalty, right? And
Oh,
the loyalty
no one
goes
loyal
both
than that
ways.
guy,
No,
man.
There's
he's
not.
the man.
You know,
He's the absolute man.
It's we appreciate everything you guys do
Yeah.
for us and continue to do for us.
Funny story. Do you remember this? Real quick. Do you remember when we went to the Red Sox opener?
Yep.
Right? It was like 25 degrees out April 1st.
Yep.
I took my son, Sean. He
Yep.
was a senior in high school. We were sitting with you, Rob Nikovich,
Yep.
and Goskowski. My kid reminds me of this all the time because we just ran into Rob Nikovich, whose uncle actually worked.
Was an
for me.
iron worker. Oh, his dad was an
Seems
iron
so,
worker.
yeah, but Nikovich's uncle, Mike Jordan, worked for me.
Sure.
He's out of Chicago. So I kind of got to know Nikovich a little bit through him and you. And so we're sitting there, we're drinking beers and, and talking to Nikovich and all this stuff. And then Goskowski's a big, tall guy.
Yeah.
Right. And, of course, I'm talking to Nikovich because iron worker, union guy,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah. And of course, I don't remember saying this. My kid said I said it. I don't know if I did or not. But you were like, hey, this is Rob Goskowski. I go, yeah, I know. He's a kicker. I don't want to talk to him.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank
and
you.
Christine.
Did I do that?
I don't know.